Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Well, our first episode of the Ghibli Angle. I'm Kris.
And I'm Alex.
So, lately, if you've been following the show episode by episode, you notice that occasionally, beyond our control, or so we say, we've missed a week or two. Episodes have been a few little gaps here and there, but we want to really make sure that there's an episode for you guys as often as we can get it to you. So to combat that, I have been harping on to Alex for years to watch the films of Studio Ghibli from beginning to end, and we thought it would be a good idea to make a series out of it called the Ghibli Angle. So whenever there's any gaps we need to fill, or there's simply no big new releases in cinemas, you get to hear Alex's first-time reactions to watching these films. So because I think, Alex, you've only seen My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe those are the only two films I've seen. I'm trying to think, and though to be fair, I've seen Spirited Away twice. Does that
count? Well, when we first started, when we pitched the idea for this series, the first thing you said was, "I don't have to watch Spirited Away again, right?"
Yeah. We're skipping that on the list, right?
I get you. It was pretty recent. It was on our main show. I have seen.
You are going to make me watch My Neighbor Totoro again, aren't you? I believe
that's been a while for you. I think that could be different experience this time. We'll see. It's a short one. You can do it.
Am I able to explain why there's been such a? Well, reluctance? I don't know if I can. I don't know. Maybe not reluctant. Well, maybe a little bit reluctance. But I never had anybody growing up who watched the Ghibli films. I feel like a lot of people maybe had a friend or somebody that introduced them to those kind of films. But there's a lot of kind of Japanese animation that I wasn't really in tune with. I would say the only daunting. The only big thing I was maybe in tune with was Pokemon for a small section of my life. But after that, I didn't really have anybody. I wasn't in the kind of circles of people watching Dragon Ball Z or Avatar. I know Avatar's not Japanese, but it follows that kind of, trajectory, I guess. But so I didn't have any kind of, I wasn't really aware of these films that much until later on in my life. And like I said, I've seen My Neighbor Totoro, I've seen Spirited Away. My first experience with Spirited Away, I was like, okay, I'm not sure I need to see any more of this. I'm not sure this is for me. But having seen it as part of our Science and Blind Spots, I realized I am wrong. And I do like My Neighbor Totoro. So I knew there was always something with these films that maybe I wasn't getting, or I just hadn't gotten the bug yet. But I never found time to force myself to sit down and watch them, because also I would say as much as I do love animated films and stuff like that, I am a bit rubbish at watching them sometimes. I would prefer to sit down and watch a live action film majority of the time, I would say.
Well, that's a personal thing. No one should feel ashamed for that. That's your thing. But this is going to be just exposure therapy. And if by the end of the journey you still feel the same, well, fair enough, buddy. You give it a go. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm excited that there's something to push me into watching these films now. I'm excited to do this.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to be as enthusiastic as possible. The angle, yeah, you see what I did there? The thing that I think will interest you about this journey is that I think you're a bit of an auteur guy like I am myself. We like to latch on to directors, filmmakers who are really intrinsically connected to their work. And I think, half of these films are directed by Miyazaki. And I think he is a guy who has a very fascinating career. And hopefully you can see his preoccupations and eventually where he gets to by his last film, The Boy and the Heron, by exploring this whole journey. So that if nothing else, maybe that'll be rewarding. But I'm biased. I've seen these films. I love them to bits.
Yeah, I know you do. And I think, you mentioned there, the end result is The Boy and the Heron, a film that came out last year, a film that I didn't watch in the cinemas because I wasn't as connected as you were to this whole thing. And although there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe I should actually make time to go see this, there was also this thing holding me back of, this was a Miyazaki film that was kind of very long awaited, a culmination of so much of his life work, drawn into this film, literally and figuratively. That I think when I was discussing it with you, you were just I feel like you could, even though you could watch it as a standalone, you would appreciate it more had you sat with kind of Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli and like, had a history and knowledge of those films behind you as you sit down to watch The Boy and the Heron. So I was like, yeah, we need to get this series on the go. And it's taken us 8 months to do like, 9 months.
It's fine. We're doing it now, and I'm just happy about that. But yeah, I would go as far as to say that if you were to watch The Boy and the Heron as your first Ghibli film, it would be bizarre. It's a bizarre experience that I think, wouldn't it would work, I suppose, but I think it is just so thematically, it's so intertwined with his life that it would just, everything that is meaningful from that film would just kind of be lost on you. I took my parents last Christmas to see it, because I was at home and nobody else would see it with me. Very, very, very popular. But they enjoyed it, but I don't think they would have got anything that, myself or eventually you will get by the end of this journey. So yeah, as I said, I've seen these films before. I own them all on Blu-ray. I'm a big fan. So I will try my best to get the facts right throughout this journey too, Alex, because there's, a lot of lore, no promises, but I apologize in advance if I make any mistakes along the way. So for me, it's no secret I've been a big fan of animation in all facets of whatever you want to call it. I personally just find it to be the ultimate form of escapism within film, and I stumbled upon Ghibli by accident. I didn't have anybody in my life too, Alex. Years ago when I was a kid, an annoying one at that. Definitely was a very annoying kid. They were playing all the Ghibli films on Film 4. They were doing that quite often for a while. And the one I stumbled upon when I was scrolling through my TV was Spirited Away. And I had never seen an animated movie like this before. It was super weird, non-linear in its approach to storytelling, but it cast like a real spell over me and became like a really formative movie watching experience. I just never seen anything like that before.
Almost the opposite reaction that I had watching Spirited Away for the first time.
Well, maybe maybe because I was a child. I don't know. Maybe it was like,
I think I watched Spirited Away in university, so I definitely wasn't a child.
Yeah, I was like 10, so I don't know. Yeah,
interesting.
So several years later, I was able to like hunt down and own most of these movies and obsessed over nearly every one of them at some point. And you know what, dude? These films are so cozy, and not only are they, most of them I think are tremendous stories, but they've also this comfort food for the soul. That's what Ghibli is to me, and really comforted me and millions of other people throughout our early adulthood and even today. I'm not saying that experience is going to be as transient for you as it is for me. That's a huge, huge ask for anybody, and I don't want to load your expectations, but who knows? Maybe one of these films will resonate with you so much, because I know we're sort of on the opposite ends of that spectrum when it comes to animation. But hey, I'm really looking forward to it.
I don't hate animation at all. I mean, our previous episode to this, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I think
you hit that movie.
I love that film.
No, absolutely. You're I know.
A couple of years back, my favorite, maybe this is just a Phil Lord and Chris Miller thing, but my favorite film of the year was The Mitchells and the Machines. So there's.
So you like humor in your animation. You like a movement, and like kinetic connection between comedy and movement. Is that a thing? Maybe action as well.
Maybe. Okay. I like you trying to diagnose me though.
No Disney princesses singing on the top of a tower for their beloved.
I love Moana. I'll go out on a limb.
Guess what, buddy? They're making another one.
I know. I don't know if I'm excited for that one, but I am. I bloody love Moana.
Is that live action one still happening too?
It is. Yeah.
Bizarre.
They've cast it, I think. Other than The Rock, obviously.
Bizarre. We'll see.
We'll see indeed.
And because we like to do things properly on the Ghibli angle, we are going to go back to the very, very beginning with technically not the first Ghibli film, but it is Hayao Miyazaki's first big budget directorial debut. So it makes sense if we're starting this journey with him as a filmmaker to kind of do it from the beginning, because he only has one film that's kind of technically out of the canon. So, it's not much extra homework. And that film is The Castle of Cagliostro, Lupin III, should I say. I think it's fair to say that we'll be focusing super heavy on Miyazaki in the series, because Studio Ghibli wouldn't exist without him. He's directed nearly half of the catalogue, and most would argue that the films are most widely, revered that belong to him. So what is The Castle of Cagliostro, Alex? What is Lupin? And why is he the third? Are we getting closer to knowing by after watching this film?
Do you know what? I don't know the third thing. I'm assuming it's more of a kind of like a little flair to add some kind of intrigue to his character. But yeah, he's kind of like a charming thief who is this. You actually want me to kind of describe what I think it is?
No, I was just putting you on the spot.
He's a charming thief. He's stealing money from a bank and realizes they're counterfeit bills, and therefore he knows where these counterfeit bills are being made, and it is like an old kind of heist that went wrong for him. So it's almost like him returning to his past to kind of right a wrong. And there's all kinds of crazy characters along the way. You've got Princess Clarice,
classic princess name.
Yep, former love interest. You can't really remember him, but now a love interest. I was trying to understand what was going on there.
She was. This sounds problematic when you explain it this way. I think he was a very, very young thief at the time. Yes. Whenever he carried out this heist that went wrong, and she was a little girl, and they had an interaction when they were younger. Which I think was completely platonic.
Yeah, maybe not a former love interest. I won't go that far.
Lupin was never proved wrong. No, not a former love or anything like that. But she does like fancy him. She likes him. And
I mean, who wouldn't?
No, he's really charming.
Yeah,
in a stupid way. He's both stupid and funny, kind of like Jack Sparrow in the first movie, and then not the rest of them.
And he's definitely a lot hotter than the Count, who's the villain of the piece, and who the princess is kind of in a forced kind of arranged marriage with. I love his design. He looks funky. Compared to everybody else in this film, he's just like this garbled mess.
Super 70s. Yeah,
very, very. Like kind of cool but evil but also disgusting. I don't really know how to describe it.
He's kind of like if Austin Powers had a lot of money. Like he's kind of dressed like that, and his hair is
he's also got I don't really know how you pronounce his mates' names. Is it Jigen?
Yeah. That's his like wise talking, always smoking a cigarette. Likes to shoot a revolver. Sidekick, yeah.
And I think this is where the element of Lupin III was a TV show right before this. And it's still a TV show.
It's massive in Japan. It's like it's huge still to this day. Yeah.
And this is where it was kind of like it was almost like being dropped in a Saturday morning cartoon movie where I was like, I kind of get like what the different tropes are from seeing films or like seeing cartoons of this kind of
and you get that everybody already has a relationship that's pre-established.
And it was pretty like it didn't need to introduce anybody to me, but like people like Jigen, I don't really know who they are and what they do. They're just kind of the sidekick that's there. And that's fine. That's fine. And that's not a thing against the film. It is at the end of the day, it is a film that is a kind of continuation and follow up to a TV show. And then you've got the almost kind of like the counterpart to Lupin, Inspector Zenigata.
Yeah.
Cool. I would watch the subbed version for everybody who wants to know. I'm going to try and watch the sub versions for all of these. I'm not really a big dubbed person anyway.
Yeah.
Are there any of the Ghibli films coming up which you would recommend in dubbed, or are you going to say subbed for everything going forward?
We'll get into. I think there's only really one. There's one I do think the dubbed is oddly better, but it is subjective. I mean, like, do you
know what? I might watch My Neighbor Totoro in dubbed because I've obviously seen the subbed previously, so maybe I'll do that.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. These dubs are really well done because Disney spent a lot of money with doing a negotiating deal between Ghibli, where they kind of met hands in the early 2000s because they wanted a lot of Western audiences to see these movies. So they got big, huge casts. Every one of these films has an A-list actor at least in it. So
because isn't it like Kristen Dunst in My Neighbor Totoro?
She's Kiki.
Oh, she's Kiki. We'll get there.
The Fanning sisters are the Totoro kids.
Ah, there you go.
So all these movies, but yes, I think subbed is your best way to be a purist. Yeah.
Anyway, I sent us on a tangent there. You got the inspector who I
like him.
He wants to catch Lupin, but Lupin's also allowed him to catch up with him a little bit so that he can be witness to the counterfeit underground stuff that's going on within Castle Cagliostro.
They form a reluctant partnership halfway through the movie, yeah.
Obviously, having seen just the two other Ghibli films before this, animation style's very different here to what I guess I will come to expect as a kind of standard Studio Ghibli film. But it reminded me a lot of... So I used to live in Germany, and my dad was in the military, but obviously we were in... you see a lot of the different shops and stuff, and kind of one of the different like kind of cultural aspects was a lot of the comic books were quite different. And there was a lot of, I would say, mainly kind of French translated to German comic books.
Right, okay.
And there's something about the style of this that just reminded me of that. Do you know, like, Asterix and Obelix?
Yeah,
stuff like that?
That's still massive in France, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of those kind of comic books and books everywhere. Those characters were huge. And there was just something about the style here that reminded me.
Slightly cruder.
Of that kind of, like, it reminded me of, like, a French magazine.
And I think that's
French
kind of
comic book.
I think that's kind of the thing with Lupin III. I think it's a Japanese sort of love letter to like that European espionage. It's kind of Inspector Gadget, Inspector Clouseau, all the inspectors you can think of, really. It definitely. And this becomes funny enough, even though this is the only Miyazaki film where he is kind of like he is tied to a existing property. That becomes kind of a through line in his entire career, where there is this sort of obsession and this sort of love letter to European sort of villages and cities and how they look and flags, and he's sort of in love with that Mediterranean look. And I love the way that the mini country Cagliostro itself is like, it's almost like a Vatican City. It's like its own little, it's like a little Transylvania castle, but it's its own country with its own little town. I love the way that looks. It's just fun to I find castles fun in a movie.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
very Scooby-Doo.
Cool. Yeah, very Scooby-Doo. There is definitely a Scooby-Doo element to this, especially with like some of the kind of like they look like rat people at one point, like these kind of ninjas.
These ninjas,
and they look very much like very monster-esque of that kind of Scooby-Doo thing. Yeah, insanely creepy. There was a lot at the start of this film where I was just like, what is this film? Like you've got like all the weird car chases and stuff going on, and
the car chase is good.
You go into like castles with ninjas and bonkers film. But I think there's even a joke at some point about like 40 minutes midway into the film where it's just like, that's the last of the characters to be introduced.
Yeah.
There is something, isn't there? The
samurai guy, he's cool.
Remember there's like a little joke somewhere about all the different crazy characters that are just kind of introduced throughout the film. But yeah, which like maybe that sounded like a critique, but it wasn't. I kind of loved how off the wall this film was at the start. That maybe when it slows down a little bit in the second half and is very much like a cat, you're in the castle and this is a semi heist, semi getaway, semi whodunit film. That like it wasn't giving me like a completely new aspect every 2 minutes. I was like, oh, I kind of loved it when it was doing that.
Yeah, and like the Count, if we go back to him, he's kind of scary sometimes, I think, because it shows whenever Lupin is he's kind of being dealt the lower hand halfway through the story, and he wakes up in the lower chambers, like the catacombs beneath the castle, and we see all the people that the Count has murdered throughout the years to get to where he's been. There's a body stacked everywhere. There's some like pretty like grim realizations for this for like a kids film.
Yeah,
like
the way he like dies at the end.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a good kill at the end. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a good
kill. yeah. Well, yeah. I think Disney were really a lot of people like Musker and Clements were really inspired by this film, and they have a sequence at the end of The Great Mouse Detective which ends at Big Ben, which was kind of like they kind of didn't rip it off, but they were really inspired by this movie, that death scene that you're talking about. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like video gamey, like in 70s and 80s when Japanese were first making video games and Nintendo, there's always a princess to be saved and everything. It's cool that way. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I find this quite like, it's an underrated film, and I thought it was worth exploring because I think a lot of people who've rediscovered it kind of feel that like it should belong within the Ghibli collection. It feels, although it belongs to a different property, it's worth watching because it's so entertaining. It's not extra bit of homework. You're just getting.
No.
You want to complete Miyazaki. This is the way to do it. And it made me. I've watched a couple of the TV show episodes subsequently after watching this movie, and I'm like, yeah, I can watch this. It's exactly, it's like the film, but shorter. So it's really cool.
I can see that all the kind of different roles and elements were there to set up for like a recurring villain of the week. The inspector almost gets him every time.
I'll get you next time.
He just gets away, and the will they, won't they because there's another thief who's his counterpart as well, and I'm guessing there's some kind of love of will they, won't they going on there. Not that that's like fully explored in this one, I don't think.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Like
the flame,
yeah. This film isn't there to explore things too deep. This is very much just like a big scale version of a TV show. Well, I'm assuming anyway because I haven't seen it. Haven't seen the TV show, but I did really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun and a lot more plot heavy than kind of My Neighbor Totoro, definitely, and Spirited Away.
It moves quite quickly, but there's a lot of like MacGuffins and like gadgets and things that you need to kind of get through. But
and as much as we've said before, I am a plot guy. So have I got other plot heavy films coming up, Chris? Or is this the biggest plot one?
Look, there's a lot of. I actually think there's going to be a lot for you to stick to because, especially with the Miyazaki films, you've watched the two that you've watched, My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away, are probably his most gentle in a way. Like he has, like you get to things like Princess and Mononoke. Your next film next time will be Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is, these films are much more about good versus evil and a little bit more of a fantasy setting. We get weapons and stuff like that. So Star Warsy in a way. Yeah. So we'll see. I know not to get your hopes up because that never works for you. I'm going to say it now. All these films are shit.
What you said? If I have high expectations, I dislike it. If I have low expectations, I like it.
It's part of the human condition. We all do it. But look, I'm glad you enjoyed this one. I'm not going to say this is the best one, but it's a fun movie. Like it is just like you could put it on, and I think anyone could enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, just because we're doing the Ghibli Angle doesn't mean you're getting away with a segment, Alex. Doesn't mean you're not getting a quiz this week, buddy.
I know. I didn't know I was getting a quiz on the Ghibli Angle, so I'm excited, but slightly nervous and worried at the same time.
Well, I like to keep it thematic, so I'm clutching at straws here. I've committed to something that I have to do every episode, so I have to tie it thematically. And I am clutching at straws this week. This is paper thin of a theme. So here's the part of the show where we do our quiz. Usually, this week's topic, quite fittingly, Alex, is castles. Castles in films. I'm not going to be boring. I'm not going to like just talk to you about castles or like I'm not a boring guy. I'm going to read to you a series of castles, and I want you to tell me if they're a castle that exists in real life, or a movie castle. So I call the segment Fortress or Fiction. I don't know. Is that okay?
Ooh, I like that.
All right. Okay. Bonus points if you can tell me what the movie is that it's from today. But like that's it. We're not counting points.
Okay, that's fine. I'm trying to remember how many castles I can remember from films. I don't remember any castles. Oh, maybe one. Maybe it'll come up. We'll find out.
We'll see. Okay, you might surprise yourself. Question 1, Alex. We'll just go straight into it. Neuschwanstein Castle.
It's the one I was thinking of. It's actually pronounced Neuschwanstein.
Neuschwanstein.
I have been there, Chris. It is a real castle, although like not historically accurate. It was made after castles were a thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to add trivia to you there. But the Neuschwanstein Castle is used in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So, woo to me.
Oh, I see my PTSD childhood coming back already. Yeah, that's correct, Alex. Well done. Okay.
Oh, you don't seem too impressed that I swept the first.
I'm pissed off.
I won't be able to do that with any of the questions. It's the only castle I know.
Oh, I swear I swear, what's our high score on these quizzes in general? We have to keep a tally. We have to keep a spreadsheet week to week.
Yeah.
Right. Question 2. This castle is called Chateau de Chambord.
Okay.
Is it real or is it in a movie?
I feel like I've heard that name before.
I mean, you've heard of a chateau. I mean, that's kind of just the word for castles.
All right. Chateau de Chambord. It sounds like, I'm going to say real. I'm going to say it's real.
You son of a bitch. You got number 1.
Have I?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, wait a second. So if it's a real castle, so the last one was a real castle, but also used in a film.
Yes, but the film, it might have a different title within the film.
Oh, okay. Cool. So did you have written down Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, or was I just like so cool that I was able to like throw that out there?
Whatever makes you feel good, man.
You could have just said yes. I had it written down.
I didn't have it written down actually.
Oh, there you go. Oh, never mind then. So I didn't mean to ruin the concept.
You should get 2 points.
The Chateau de Chambord. I don't know if it's had any films filmed.
Make me look like an idiot in my own podcast.
Sorry.
Question 3. This one might be a little trickier for you.
Go on.
Or it will not. Care Paravel.
Never heard of it. So I'm going to say
Care Paravel.
Okay, I'm going to say fiction just because it sounds weird. Like I'm not sure.
Okay, it is fiction, but would you be able to have a stab at what you think? Like, what does that sound like it would be from? Like, to be honest, like 24 hours ago, I would not have got this.
Yeah. What language is that?
Made up.
Okay.
Think fantasy. Yeah.
Say it again.
Care Paravel. Cair for care. Paravel. Paravel.
Okay. I don't know. Is it like Lord of the Rings or something?
You're in the ballpark. I'm going to tell you, it's the Narnia movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's interesting because I didn't know it.
There you go.
Okay, question.
I remember there being a castle. I just remember like Aslan was just like out in the field, wasn't he? He was just like out in the field doing stuff.
The evil queen or the witch or whatever, the White Witch,
Tilda Swinton. I
Tilda
just remember
Swinton,
her riding a horse the whole time. She was never in a castle.
Scared me to death as a kid.
Yeah,
Giving kids Turkish delight.
She was scary.
This one is very interesting. The Castle Anthrax.
Anthrax. Interesting. I'm going to say fiction.
Yes. Well, no, it's a very silly name. I knew you were going to get this, but it made me giggle.
Silly. Are we thinking like, are we going down like a cartoon route, or are we going down like a James Bond route?
It's from a very famous comedy film made by typically very silly men. You would know as very silly guys. Would
it be like Your Highness or something like that?
No, I think you're far away from it now.
Oh, okay.
It is Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
I remember watching that with my dad, and him always laughing at Castle Anthrax, and I was like laughing with him, pretending I knew what he meant.
Yeah, I remember doing that a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the Monty Python stuff as well. I've seen it, and I've seen a couple of their films, but I don't actually know it.
Question 5. Highclere Castle.
Highclere Castle. That kind of sounds fiction as well, because that sounds a bit silly. But then at the same time, are you putting me off the scent? I don't know. I'm gonna stick to fiction because that sounds stupid, and I hope I haven't offended a country.
Well, thank God. I need you to feel one, because it makes me look like stupid making this segment. Then
okay,
it is real.
Okay, what country have I offended?
Your own.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
It is an English castle where they film Downton Abbey there. That's the Downton Abbey castle.
Is that a castle?
Manor castle. It is sort of. It's
You're playing loose here, buddy. That's a big house.
It's a huge house. All right. Okay. I'm calling it a castle.
Okay. So I've got one wrong so far. How many? What are we on?
But you've skipped. You haven't got some bonus points. We are on question 6 now. I've done 8 questions. So you got 3 more.
Okay. I haven't been keeping count. Have you?
Right. I feel this one's an easy one. Minas Tirith.
Oh yeah, that's fake, and it's Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings isn't fake. You're right, of course, is Lord of the Rings films. Can you guess which exact film it appears in first?
Minas Tirith.
Actually, I don't even know. Why am I asking?
It's Return of the King, isn't it?
Yeah, but why do I feel like there's like a quick scene in Fellowship where it appears for one scene?
Maybe.
Do you remember there's that scene where Gollum's getting tortured to give out the hobbits' names?
Yeah,
Is it there? No, because that's in Sauron's castle. Forgive me. Yeah, I think you're right. Return of the King. No, I think it's too far. It could be any of the films. Write in on the podcast to tell us.
So you asked me a question, you don't know the answer, you're just like, yeah, it could be.
Basically, we're super prepared. Question 7. Ilian Donan Castle.
Real?
Or Eileen? Ooh, I'm going to look stupid.
I'm going to say it's real because you don't know how to pronounce it, which means it's probably not in a film you've seen.
Alex, right, how would you pronounce this? Eilean. Will you say Ilian or Eileen?
Ilian? I don't know. Is it real though?
It's real.
Okay.
And I've just offended the entirety of Scotland.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to stay clear of trying to pronounce that myself.
Okay. Last one. Barad-dûr.
That sounds like something I've heard in a film.
Barad-dûr.
I'm going to say film on that one, but I'm not going to be able to tell you what film it's from, I don't think.
Okay, it is also from The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
It is Sauron's stronghold in Mordor, which translates to Dark Tower.
Oh, there you go. I don't like the fact that you've incorporated 2 Lord of the Rings castles.
Like, it turns out finding movie castles is kind of tricky. Oh, there we go. Well, I think you did really well. Should we count it? Oh, do you want me to count the points?
Please.
Okay,
yes.
Right. So you had 8 questions. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7 points, buddy.
Thank you. I think that's good. I think
that's really good. That's probably a record on this show.
Excellent. I'll take it.
Okay, so that's the first iteration of the Ghibli Angle. We are going to see this through the end. Don't you worry. This isn't going to... It might take us 2 years to get there.
Yes.
It won't. But we'll get there.
It might.
It might get there. I mean, if the BFI series is anything to go on, it could be. But we'll get there.
We got lots of fun stuff to watch. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. I need an excuse to watch these films. I shouldn't need an excuse. But yeah, in this day and age, when I'm a busy man, I have to select the right things. And having a podcast series specifically on Miyazaki and the Ghibli films will help me actually finally get around to watching these films. Something I've said to many people many times that I will do one day, and I haven't.
Absolutely. And the next film, Alex, I think is really exciting because it's kind of one of my favorites of Miyazaki and Ghibli in general too. And it is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is actually based on Miyazaki's own manga that he wrote before becoming a film director, actually.
Oh, interesting. So it's an adaptation of his own material. Of
his own work. He's literally turned the manga into a film, which is it's a massive manga too. It's like, I think it's like 600 pages long. So it's a big epic fantasy, futuristic world, kind of the fallout of mankind, bugs versus humans. So yeah, a lot of environmental themes. It's a bit more serious than you've seen previously.
Okay. I'm intrigued. And there's not like a giant cartoon that predates it or anything like that.
No, it was literally just a manga book series that he wrote before, and you can buy it online. It's widely available. But so it's kind of the first real big Miyazaki film. So you'll start to see what preoccupies this filmmaker from this one.
So a bit of an epic.
A bit of an epic, yeah, I think so.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I'm intrigued. Is there food? Because I feel like there's even in Lupin, there was like a nice little, I think there was like a breakfast scene where he chops an egg with a knife, and it just looks so lovely. I love Miyazaki's love of food. Is there food in this one?
It definitely is a thing with all of Ghibli. I think this is one of the least foodie ones because this is a world that's dying and decaying. There's a lot of stink clouds in it. There's a lot of green clouds in this.
Love stink clouds and Spirited Away as well, don't they?
Oh, is that a bad thing? You seem really disappointed.
No, I wasn't. I'm trying to draw things already in the limited amount of films I've seen of his.
Like, wait till you get to Howl's Moving Castle, where there's a whole 2-minute sequence just making eggs and bacon. You'll be fine. You'll be looking forward to that.
That's what I'm looking forward
to. Excellent. Yes.
I love food.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We both love food.
We both love food. So yes, we can't really say when that episode will be, but like we said at the start, like we're going to be recording a backlog of these to check out to hopefully fill in some of the eps when there are some. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to watching that one very soon.
So, that has been the episode for this week. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or review. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Film Angle.
We also have a Film Angle playlist, so if you want to listen to what we listen to, you can find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. Goodbye.
See you later.